Hello, people. I'm Andy Reichsman. I am a local filmmaker, make movies for a living, and I am here to talk about the Vermont Movie Contest. I don't know if you people have heard about it. I don't know if, has anybody heard of the Vermont Movie, Freedom and Unity? There's a nod of the head. Well, let me tell you a little bit about the Vermont Movie to start with. A bunch of years ago, a Vermont filmmaker thought, wouldn't it be great to make a film about Vermont? But she didn't want to do it alone. She wanted to share the workload. So she called around and emailed around to all the filmmakers in Vermont and said, how about making a film about Vermont? And a lot of people responded favorably, although it's a very crazy idea. Every filmmaker has different equipment and a different approach to making movies, and so the idea of somehow putting together all these different people's work, it seemed risky. But the woman who was proposing it is somebody that everybody thinks very highly of. So in the end, we all joined together, and approximately 45 filmmakers collaborated and worked together to make this movie called the Vermont Movie. Now, incredibly, the movie is a 6-part film. Each part is an hour and a half, so it's a 9-hour film about Vermont. To give you an idea of how that's possible, on June 19th of 2008, that's approximately when the film was getting off the ground, we were sent a list of possible topics that could be a part of this Vermont movie, and it was 27 pages long of possible topics for the movie. Every filmmaker more or less chose a topic, maybe some chose a couple of topics, and so those are how we assembled the 9-hour film, was by using all these different filmmakers' contributions. My wife and I worked together. We made a film about Lilac Ridge, the farm in West Brattleboro, and about organic farming. And so there are places in the film that talk about agriculture, and some of the footage is our footage. So why a contest, and why for young people in Vermont? Well, as you can imagine, with 27 pages of possible themes, a lot of them did not get used. There are a lot of topics about Vermont that are available, or interesting ideas for people to pursue. The other thing is that when the film was started, I don't think there was a single filmmaker involved under the age of 33. So there was no youth voices involved, and you guys have your own perspective on the world, on Vermont, on various issues, and so the filmmakers decided that it would be great to try to add to this Vermont movie by having young people contribute their topics and their ideas and their perspectives, and so they've created this competition to make films and have them be part of this greater whole, the Vermont Movie. There are cash prizes for the filmmakers, and the films will be shown at festivals, probably around the whole region. The Vermont Movie was shown not only in Vermont. We went to Maine, showed it at the Maine Film Festival. It's shown on Vermont Public Television. So a lot of these would be venues where your film, if you choose to make a film, would be shown. I'm going to show you a couple of things online. There is a website for the contest. It's freedomandunitytv.net. Now, the name of the film is the Vermont Movie, Freedom and Unity. Freedom and Unity is the motto of the state of Vermont. On that site, you'll see across the top, blog, about, guidelines, entry form, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So first we're going to go to about, and we're going to look at some of the things that, there's a lot of information about thinking about topics that you might want to make a film about. There are a bunch of examples from other young people of films that they have made. I'm going to show you a bit of one right now.
Here are the facts. You can't record video with a piece of toast.
I'm just asking you how your day went.
You know
It's
what?
just a question.
I'm gonna tell you how my day's
That's the
going
other
right
thing
now.
about you, okay? You're always talking, you're always putting words in my mouth. I work hard.
Oh,
You
we got
think-
a ragged cut.
I need to change exposure.
You can't record audio with a sneaker.
You don't know what my life is like. You don't even, you.
Hey, Reebok pumps out of the shop, please.
Wait,
And you can't edit footage with a milk carton.
So all joking aside, my education would not be possible without technology. I'm a digital filmmaking student, and my classmates and I work and learn with technology 5 hours a day, 5 days a week, for an entire school year.
School is where we learn about ourselves and our world. Art is our lives. It's how we see, think, and express ourselves.
As creative young people, combining school, art, and technology caters to our learning styles. Technology is what we know. For better or for worse, our generation has grown up with technology, and that's not changing anytime soon.
This is about the contest, so I'm going to show you this one in its entirety.
A group of Vermont filmmakers got together to make a 6-part movie about their state.
And action!
The Vermont movie is about highways and land use. It's about eugenics. It's about
people who live off the grid, who generate their own power, generate their own food.
It's about geology and geography. Also,
The story of Romaine Tenney from Muscatney.
it's about
revolution and workers.
It's about the political struggles in Vermont. It's about hippies.
Race.
What else is it about?
Vermont Yankee Nuclear Power Plant.
Participating in local government and town meetings.
Yeah, it's about the evolution of communities in Vermont.
What is Vermont?
After they finished, they realized that some very important voices were missing. Your voices.
I'm gonna stay up there. Slaughter animals. I'm not gonna.
His legs are building.
So now these Vermont filmmakers are getting together to sponsor a contest to hear your voice. What are your thoughts about this state? What is missing? What intrigues you? What are you passionate about? What are you proud of?
That's right. My idol, Martin Luther King Jr. has said,
It's your turn.
what we heard loud and clear in community.
And to get involved, contact your public access television station. Talk to a teacher in your high school. Speak with your film or history professor. Just don't miss this opportunity.
I ask one thing of you. Please stand up with me. Stand up. Stand up for equality. Stand up for the fearful. Stand up for our future. Stand up for our families. Stand up for love. Stand up, Vermont. Stand up.
Folks.
Pick up a camera. Make a short film about Vermont from your point of view and send it to us by April 10th, 2015.
So, although much of the Vermont movie is documentary, they're accepting any genre, documentary, fiction, experimental, animation. So you don't just have to make something about the history of Vermont. It can have any kind of connection to Vermont that you can think of. So here's a question. Raise your hand if you were born in Vermont. Okay. Raise your hand if you weren't born in Vermont. So it's a pretty good mix. For the sake of this contest, anybody who lives in Vermont, if they've been here 20 minutes or their life, they're eligible to submit a film. Bear with me a second. So this is the first, theoretically, of 3 workshops. The first workshop today is about brainstorming and thinking up ideas for a film that you might want to make. The second workshop will be about actual film production, about making films and how to go about doing that on a lot of different levels, both in terms of technical, in terms of, you know, exposure and focus and holding a camera steady and those kinds of technical issues, but also how do you find people to interview and how do you research your project. We'll do a little of that today, but so that's the second workshop. The third workshop will be about post-production and editing. So these will be scheduled, you know, in the next stretch of time. I don't know if it'll be weeks or a month or whatever, but there, you know, there'll be another, you know, probably I would say the production one might be in 2 or 3 weeks or something along those lines. So today we're going to talk about getting ideas for a film, and actually I'm going to cheat because we're going to talk about your ideas, but you know, in just asking about who was born in Vermont and who wasn't born in Vermont, I think there'd be a great little film just by asking people the question of who gets to be a Vermonter. How do, you know, because it seems a lot of people in Vermont feel that just because you live in Vermont doesn't make you a Vermonter. Just because your parents live in Vermont and you were born in Vermont doesn't make you a Vermonter. Some people think that you could go back generations in order to be a Vermonter. That would make a great little film, talking to people about that issue. So why make a film about Vermont? You know, what makes Vermont special or unique? Does anybody have any thoughts? I'm going to give you a list before we actually get a response. Here are some facts about the state of Vermont. Some of the topics in the Vermont movie: how Vermont became a state, Native Americans displaced by Yankee settlers, Vermonters in the Civil War, racism, eugenics, back to the landers, granite and marble industries, wind power, nuclear power, farming, climate change, hippies, civil unions, etc., etc. There are also a lot of topics that aren't in the film: gun control, healthcare reform. There's nothing actually on maple syrup, Ben and Jerry's. But you know, any story. You know, you guys all have your own life experience. I know you're young, but you know, you have a lot of life experience and personal stories about Vermont, your own personal stories. What I'm going to do now is show a couple of clips from the Vermont movie to show you a few different ways that some of the filmmakers involved with the Vermont movie chose to illustrate and make their case in the film. Some of them are going to be straightforward, sort of classic documentary film techniques, and you may well sort of be familiar with some of those techniques. Some of the others have certain different approaches that you may find interesting. This is about slavery and about Vermont and slavery.
The slave chains for the hands and the back change and the head change where they pull their heads back behind them. All sorts of cruel, critical, unbelievable things right here in this United States.
What happens is that as the anti-slavery struggle heats up, the Vermont legislature will pass law after law that attacks the National Fugitive Slave Act, that makes it illegal to capture a slave in this state or to take them out of state.
And it became pretty well known that Vermont did not permit slavery. Word traveled pretty fast.
Now, be careful, because we're going to go into the old section of the house, And when you pass through this doorway, you do not want to lose your camera or your head. We have letters documenting fugitives who were here. Every single one of these letters says the same thing. Vermont is a safe haven.
Okay, so before we move on to another clip, I just want to talk a little bit about that one. I want to hear from you guys. Can we list some of the kinds of shots, some of the different material that this filmmaker used to tell this story?
Maps.
Maps. Good. What else?
Interviews.
Interviews.
Tracking shots.
Tracking shots, and in what context? What were those tracking shots were of?
His escape.
Excuse me?
His escape from.
Right. Yes, but we would call that a reenactment because they didn't actually film an actual. The gentleman who was being quoted there. Yes?
There were a pretty good amount of establishing shots.
That's true, establishing shots, which give you a sense of time and place and what we're dealing with, the story we're dealing with. So a lot of different methods. And some of the shots were really great. I love that footage where the slave is reaching in to get his gun and knife. And think about how that shot was set up. There was a camera put behind this wall of stones, and then you see the hand reaching in. I mean, it's very, very interesting. Also, another thing about this is how did you feel during the telling of this story? Was this just a bland, kind of factual piece of storytelling?
Yeah. No.
Well, think about it for a second. Did you feel anything?
Yes, it did kind of have a sense of emotion and power to it in a way.
Right. Yes, it had some emotional power. It also has what we call in storytelling something of a dramatic arc. There's a beginning, a middle, and an end. And there's a heightened tension. This guy, if he gets caught, he's going to be probably beaten and taken back to his slave situation. And so, there's some consequence to the idea of him being able to make it. And of course, Vermont was an important part of the Underground Railroad, and that's why this is in the Vermont movie. I want to move to another one. This one is, I hope you'll see that this one has some very interesting approaches to, this is also a historical, wait a minute. This one is also it's very seeped in history, but it's not as much of a straight historical storytelling as this one. You realize that the words that we were hearing from that slave is from an actual written narration by that person about their escape.
And here was Champlain, somebody who traveled across the ocean 27 times, was raised in the household of the King of France, subject to all these terrible wars in Europe, somehow managed in big boats to get to the mouth of the St. Lawrence, and then in littler boats explore all the nooks and crannies of the St. Lawrence, and then to be stopped by the waterfalls. He just couldn't go any further unless he got out of his European mode, out of his boat, and into a canoe, a birch bark canoe.
And I hope he comes soon, because they don't have a calendar as we have, but most of the time, the sauvages, they do what they say. Bienvenue, bienvenue. Je vous attendais. Champlain.
The Abenaki really respect the warrior culture, and George was in the airborne during the Korean War. He's Indian and he's American.
Grandfather went up to Canada, what they call Canada, and married, and the rest of us on my father's side came from her.
For the blue eyes?
And yeah, well, my mother was Polish, and probably the blue eyes on the father's side. There was Irish and Yankee and French and all that in there too.
So that was a fairly different way of addressing a historical event. What's different about this one from the last one? Do you think any of those words were actually Champlain's words?
No.
Yeah. No, that is a, a made-up script. It's clearly happening in present day. There's no attempt. In the other one, you sort of felt like you were looking at footage maybe from 18-something. There was nothing to give away that it was that it was not shot in the days that it supposedly took place in. I now would like people to get into groups of 4 or 5 people and sort of distribute yourselves around the room and spend 5 or 10 minutes picking each other's brains, thinking about something that would be interesting to make a film about. And beyond just picking a topic, listen up for 1 minute, guys.
Environmental science, why don't we go over here and sort of stay together?
Beyond just picking a topic, think about ways that you would want to make the film, who you would want to talk to get information about the film, and those kinds of things.
But I really want.
So who would like to tell us about the idea that they were discussing for the past stretch? We'll go through as many groups as we can to hear, what people were thinking. Any takers? Yes, sir.
Hunting.
Hunting. Excellent idea. Did you guys talk about how you would approach it, or what kind of an approach you would take?
Well, it's changed in Vermont. Everyone used to hunt around here.
Right. So if you were going to make a film about hunting, who would you think would be people that you could turn to either advise you or to be on camera? Can you think of people in your sphere? Are you a hunter?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So
that's my name too.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Well, game wardens. Then you got the hunting instructors, and then talk to the old hunters too.
And now, who taught you to? Who did you hunt with?
My father.
So he might be a good person to involve as well. That's a great topic. It was not in the Vermont Movie so much. I think there's a little bit, but not very much at all. And definitely something where there are people on a broad spectrum of ideas about hunting. And you're picking some good ideas for people to turn to. I mean, I think the idea that you said game wardens first is really excellent because they can really speak to the issue and they can help you. I mean, one thing you want, particularly if you're doing something factual. Now, remember that in the contest, you can do a fictional film. You can do an experimental film. You can do an animation. But if you're doing a factual film, you want to make sure that you are fairly well informed with correct information. So the fact that the first person you chose was a game warden, those are great resources for somebody who can really give you good, accurate information. That's great. On the other side of the coin, there's the personal, interactive, where maybe talking to your father or filming your father hunting or something like that would be a great possible scene. Again, an issue with time of year, because the hunting season, there are a bunch of different hunting seasons, but particularly the deer season ends just after Thanksgiving. So that's a film, if you wanted to make that film, you would be smart to get a camera for that couple of weeks to get some footage. Now, you don't need all of it at that time, because obviously you can talk to a game warden any time of the year. But that's an excellent topic, and I like your ideas for ways to go about researching and making that film. The real thing is that if you're doing something historical, then you're probably all, I hope you're aware of the term primary sources, which means going back to the original material. So if you were doing something about slavery, going back to the words of a slave who wrote a journal, or looking at the wording of the amendment that outlawed slavery in Vermont, outlawed the runaway slave law in Vermont, that's going to primary sources. One of the places that would be really helpful for you guys if you were thinking about making a film along those lines, would be something like the Brattleboro Historical Society. But as I was saying to Hunter, in a lot of cases, the people who might be experts in what you want to make a film about may be very close to you in your immediate circle, potentially a parent or a friend or an uncle or an aunt who knows something about the topic that you're interested in. And depending how personal your story is, in some cases for a personal story, every connection, every link you're going to have will be someone close to you. But in historical work, if you're doing something about the history of some aspect of Brattleboro, you're going to want to talk to the librarians, talk to teachers at school who may have knowledge, and the Historical Society. So I think we're almost done here. I would say that the website, if you're interested in, I don't know how many of you actually are interested in making a film. The prizes are pretty significant. I think first prize is $500. You have until April 15th to make the film. Some of you are in television production now or will be in the spring. That's a great opportunity because presumably that gives you access to cameras and other equipment. But these days, your iPhone is a movie camera, and your computer has an editing system on it. So it is not that hard to go about, actually choosing to make a film. freedomandunitytv.net. There's plenty of information for you guys to find out more about the rules. There are not many rules about the prizes, et cetera, the deadline. There is also on some of the other pages information to help you think about topics, how to cover those topics, resources that might be available to you in the community that would help you, pursue your ideas. So for those of you who are coming back in 3 weeks or a month or whenever it is for the production workshop, it would be great if you spent some time between now and then thinking about either the idea you came up with today or some other idea, but then try to develop it and turn it into more focused. Hunting is a very big topic. There's probably 100 subtopics that you could look into related to hunting. So the idea if you're seriously interested in making a film and you want to make a film about hunting, think about what is it about hunting that I would love to convey in my film, and what would be the important ways to go about telling that story. And remember that it is a story, beginning, middle, end, with some, development so that people have an interest and get involved and get engaged in your film. That is the end for today. And, in 3 weeks, have some ideas, and we'll talk about making film. Thank you.